Praise the Lord. According to 1 Year Bible Reading Plan Day 76, we have 1 Samuel chapters 11 to 13. 1 Samuel chapter 1. About a month later, King Nahash of Ammon led his army against the town of Jabesh in the territory of Gilead and besieged it. The men of Jabesh said to Nahash, "Make a treaty with us, and we will accept you as our ruler." Nahash answered, "I will make a treaty with you on one condition. I will put out everyone's right eye, and so bring disgrace on all Israel." The leaders of Jabesh told, "Give us 7 days to send messengers and throughout the land of Israel. If no one will help us, then we will surrender to you." The messengers arrived at Gibeah, where Saul lived, and when they told the news, the people started crying in despair. Saul was just then coming in from the field with his oxen, and he asked, "What's wrong? Why is everyone crying?" They told him what the messengers from Jabesh had reported. When Saul heard this, the Spirit of God took control over him, and he became furious. He took 2 oxen, cut them in pieces, and had messengers carry the pieces throughout the land of Israel with this warning: "Whoever does not follow Saul and Samuel into battle will have this done to his oxen." The people of Israel were afraid of what the Lord might do, and all of them without exception came out together. Saul gathered them at Bezek. They were 300 million from Israel and 30,000 from Judah. They said to the messengers from Jabesh, "Tell your people that before noon tomorrow there will be rescued." When the people of Jabesh received the message, they were overjoyed and said to Nahash, "Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and you can do with us whatever you wish." That night Saul divided his men into 3 groups, and at dawn the next day they rushed into the enemy camp and attacked the Ammonites. By noon they had slaughtered them. The survivors scattered, each man running off by himself. Then the people of Israel said to Samuel, "Where are the people who said that Saul should not be our king? Hand them over to us, and we will kill them." But Saul said, "No one will be put to death today, for this is the day the Lord rescued Israel." And Samuel said to him, "Let us all go to Gilgal and once more proclaim Saul as our king." So they all went to Gilgal, and there at the holy place they proclaimed Saul king. They offered fellowship sacrifices, and Saul and all the people of Israel celebrated the feast. 1 Samuel chapter 12. Then Samuel said to the people of Israel, "I have done what you asked me to do. I have given you a king to rule, and now you have him to lead you. As for me, I am old and gray, and my sons are with you. I have been your leader from my youth until now. Here I am. If I have done anything wrong, accuse me now in the presence of the Lord and the king he has chosen. Have I taken anybody's cow or anybody's donkey? Have I cheated or oppressed anyone? Have I accepted a bribe from anyone? If I have done any of these things, I will pay back what I have taken." The people answered, "No, you have not cheated us or oppressed us. You have not taken anything from anyone." Samuel replied, "The Lord and the king he has chosen are witnesses today that you have found me to be completely innocent." "Yes, the Lord is our witness," they answered. Samuel continued, "The Lord is the one who chose Moses and Aaron, and who brought your ancestors out of Egypt. Now stand where you are, and I will accuse you before the Lord by reminding you of all the mighty actions the Lord did to save you and your ancestors. When Jacob and his family went to Egypt and the Egyptians oppressed them, your ancestors cried to the Lord for help, and he sent Moses and Aaron, who brought them out of Egypt and settled them in this land. But the people forgot the Lord their God, and so he let the Philistines and the king of Moab and Sisera commander of the army of the city of Hazor, fight against your ancestors and conquer them. Then they cried to the Lord for help and said, We have sinned because we turned away from you, Lord, and worshipped the idols of Baal and Astarte. Rescue us from our enemies, and we will worship you. And the Lord sent Gideon, Barak, Jephthah, and finally me. Each of us rescued you from your enemies, and you lived in safety. But when you saw the king Nahash of Ammon was about to attack you, you rejected the Lord as your king and said to me, We want a king to rule us. Now here is the king you choose. You asked for him, and now the Lord has given him to you. All will go well with you if you honor the Lord your God, serve him, listen to him, and obey his commands, and if you and your king follow him. But if you do not listen to the Lord but disobey his commands, he will be against you and your king. So then, stand where you are, and you will see the great thing which the Lord is going to do. It's the dry season, isn't it? But I will pray, and the Lord will send thunder and rain. When this happens, you will realize that you committed a great sin against the Lord when you asked him for a king. So Samuel prayed. On that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. Then all the people became afraid of the Lord and of Samuel. And they said to Samuel, Please, sir, pray to the Lord your God for us so that we won't die. We now realize that besides all our other sins, we have sinned by asking for a king. Don't be afraid, Samuel answered. Even though you have done such an evil thing, do not turn away from the Lord, but serve him with all your heart. Don't go over false gods. They cannot help you or save you, for they are not real. The Lord has made a solemn promise, and he will not abandon you, for he has decided to make you his own people. As for me, the Lord forbid that I should sin against him by no longer praying for you. Instead, I will teach you what is good and right for you to do. Obey the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Remember the great things he has done for you. But if you continue to sin, you and your king will be destroyed. Samuel chapter 13. Saul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel 42 years. Saul picked 3,000 men, keeping 2,000 of them with him in Michmash and in the hill country of Bethel, and sending 1,000 with his son Jonathan to Gibeah, in the territory of the tribe of Benjamin. The rest of the men Saul sent home. Jonathan killed the Philistine commander in Geba, and all the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul sent messengers to call the Hebrews to war by blowing a trumpet throughout the whole country. All the Israelites were told that Saul had killed the Philistine commander, and the Philistines hated them. So the people answered the call to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines assembled to fight the Israelites. They had 30,000 war chariots, 6,000 cavalry troops, and as many soldiers as there are grains of sand on the seashore. They went to Michmash, east of Bethaven, and camped there. Then they launched a strong attack against the Israelites, putting them in a desperate situation. Some of the Israelites hid in caves and holes or among the rocks or in pits and wells. Others crossed the Jordan River into the territories of Gad and Gilead. Saul was still at Gilgal, and the people with him were trembling with fear. He waited 7 days for Samuel, so Samuel had instructed him to do. But Samuel still had not come to Gilgal. The people began to desert Saul, so he said to them, Bring me the burnt sacrifices and the fellowship sacrifices. He offered a burnt sacrifice, and just as he was finishing, Samuel arrived. Saul went out to meet him and welcome him, but Samuel said, What have you done? Saul answered, The people were deserting me, and you had not come when you said you would. Besides that, the Philistines are gathering at Michmash. So I thought, the Philistines are going to attack me here in Gilgal, and I have not tried to win the Lord's favor. So I felt I had to offer a sacrifice. That was a foolish thing to do, Samuel answered. You have not obeyed the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had obeyed, he would let you and your descendants rule over Israel forever. But now your rule will not continue because you have disobeyed him. The Lord will find the kind of man he wants and make him ruler of his people. Samuel left Gilgal and went on his way. The rest of the people followed Saul as he went to join his soldiers. They went from Gilgal to Gibeah in the territory of Benjamin. Saul inspected his troops, about 600 men. Saul, his son Jonathan, and them encamped in Geba in the territory of Benjamin. The Philistine camp was at Michmash. The Philistine soldiers went out on raids from their camp in three groups. One group went toward Ophrah in the territory of Shual. Another went toward Beth Horon, and the other one went to the border overlooking Zeboim Valley and the wilderness. There were no blacksmiths in Israel because the Philistines were determined to keep the Hebrews from making swords and spears. The Israelites had to go to the Philistines to get their plows, hoes, axes, and sickles sharpened. The charge was one small coin for sharpening axes and for fixing goads, and 2 coins for sharpening plows or hoes. And so on the day of battle, none of the Israelite soldiers, except Saul and his son Jonathan, had swords or spears. The Philistines sent a group of soldiers to defend Michmash Pass. May the Lord bless us abundantly. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.